Good evening and welcome to the Crete Facebook page. I'm here tonight with Artist Mathew Halpin. Good evening, Matthew. Nice of you to join us. Much appreciated.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. Thanks ever so much for coming on. We're going to have a little chat tonight about the Lakkos Project and also about you and living in Crete over there.
Sure.
With your house and whatever. So. The first question that I'd like to ask you, Matthew, is how did you first come to go to Crete?
Well, before Crete, I was living in Estonia, in Tallinn, and I'd been on a holiday to Crete and a few islands, and I had friends here. And after living in Estonia for 3 years through 6 months of snow, it seemed like a really good place to go.
A little bit warmer than there then.
Yes, I loved the snow for the first couple of months, but first couple of years. But year 3, it was time. Being an Australian, I'm not used to being stuck inside all the time, so it was great to come here and have the outside lifestyle again.
Fantastic. And was there? I mean, obviously, you went to Crete for the first time. Was there something special about Crete that made you want to make more of a permanent connection?
Well, the main thing was that I had friends here, but and also there's so many places in Greece that you can live, small islands or the mainland. Crete is a really big island, so it's kind of like its own country. You never get bored on such a big island.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone watching tonight, feel free to pop a comment on, say hi, or if you want to ask Matthew a question, just pop that in the comments box, and we'll pick that up and we'll try and answer those for you as we go along. So you come to discover Lakkos, Matthew. Tell us how you came across the district of Heraklion, Lakkos.
So when we first moved to Heraklion, I hadn't actually been to Heraklion as a tourist. I'd only been to Hania and Rethymno, and as you know, Hania and Rethymno are seriously beautiful small cities. And then I got to Heraklion and I thought that this is a really ugly place with no culture. And it took a little while we had about 2 weeks to find a house. And within the concrete jungle of Heraklion, there are small pockets of village-like places, and Lakkos is one of them. It still is 50% abandoned, just lots of little houses and small streets. But there's such a charm within the neglect that my friend and I just decided we had to find a place there, and we wanted one of these small old houses, but they're hard to find. So at first we got an apartment, and then slowly moved to another house, and then a bigger house, and now I've got a big house, which was empty for 20 years, an abandoned house, and the owners let me use it for free.
Fantastic. So you discover Lakkos, you find a place to live, and then you found, or you're a key person in finding the Lakkos Project. So tell us about the Lakkos Project and what it is.
So the Lakkos Project was, because the area is so special but neglected and ignored, and also it's got a bad reputation. It had a bad reputation. A lot of the locals wouldn't walk through there. It's completely safe. But I wanted to do a project to raise awareness of the special place and hope that the awareness would make the owners of the houses try and do something about the abandoned states that they were in. I got in contact with the municipality, the mayor's wife. She was really keen on doing a project there, and the local Cafeneon and a few other citizens of Heraklion that also, many people loved the area, but no one knew what to do. So we all got together, and every Monday for the first year we would have meetings, and we organized painting houses, cleaning the park, and that slowly evolved into murals. And now the area is quite vibrant, but it still needs maybe another 5 years before it becomes more inhabited.
So the Lakkos Project was, from what I understand, and I mean, interestingly, I came across you and the Lakkos Project from staying in Crete, in Heraklion myself, it was back end of last year, and I just inadvertently ended up having to walk through that district of Heraklion to get to the centre. And I used to, I'm a bit embarrassed to say this, but I used to live in Heraklion, and I never even knew that Lakkos existed, which is a little bit embarrassing to say, but I walked through it and I started to see the murals, which are absolutely fantastic. And then obviously on the back of that, I started to, when I got home, I started to research it and look at what that was about. And I found yourself in the project, and it's such an exciting thing to kind of inadvertently come across in this what is the centre of Heraklion, isn't it? It's right there.
Well, it's right on the edge of the centre. Yeah, it's within the Venetian walls. It's right between the centre and the Politistico, the big cultural centre. Many people, though, don't know that it exists, that live in the city. And the name Lakkos, it's all the small areas within the old city used to have Turkish names. And Lakkos is a Greek name. It means pit. But as the Turkish names were forgotten, Lakkos, the name, was forgotten as well. But then with the project, it's becoming a bit of a trendy place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I think they call it gentrification, Matthew, don't they, in modern terminology? I think slowly but surely it's just gently being gentrified, would you say?
Well, I get in trouble often with some of the younger groups who say I'm gentrifying it, and they say that I'm trying to get the poor people out and the rich people in. But the thing about gentrification is it's normally the artists and the gay people that move in and make it trendy, and then they get outpriced, and then the yuppies move in. But the problem with Lakkos is that actually it's still 50% abandoned. That most of the people that live there are old ladies, old people, and there's a very few immigrants. So it hasn't. Gentrification comes in two forms. There's positive and negative, and often it's looked on as always negative. But it is gentrification, but it's trying to save the area rather than make it zhuzhy and for rich people.
Absolutely. And evening to you, Anna. Thanks for joining us this evening, and Rai as well. Thanks for joining us. If you've got any questions or comments or anything you want to ask Matthew, then put it in the comment section there, and we'll try and get those answered for you as we go through tonight's chat. So, with like you said, Lakkos is still pretty much half unoccupied, and the houses aren't being lived in. Is it difficult to find a property in Lakkos if you wanted to buy a property? Say, is that something that's difficult to do, Matthew?
It is. Occasionally they come up for sale, but you know, there's a house down the street that's quite a nice house. I had a friend that wanted to buy it. It has a small courtyard, and it's in okay condition, and it's in a nice position. And I said to her, she asked me how much I thought it was worth, and I said, oh, probably about 70. And she said 70,000 euros. And she said, okay, let's go and try and find the owner. Anyway, I found the owner, and the owner said, yes, we want 70,000, but there's three of us. We want 70,000 each. And then there's the problem of the land value is worth more than the old houses. So officially you're not allowed to knock down the old houses, but you are allowed to let them fall down. So this is happening as well. At the moment, the municipality is quite good that they don't want the old houses knocked down. But then the locals will say, oh, just wait for the next municipality. So, and then it's not like you guys that have a really good heritage listing system. There's individual houses listed, but not whole streets or the whole area. So it's really in jeopardy. And yeah, to buy a house there, it's difficult.
which I suppose adds to the problem of it being uninhabited. If it's very difficult to pick up a property there, it's all part of the circle that creates the problem in the first place, I'm guessing.
Yes, and you know, another typical Greek situation is 10 people will own one house. Some are it's still in Greece, some are in Canada, some are in Australia. One wants to sell, one wants to keep it, so nothing happens. This is really common in Greece.
Yeah. So with the obviously when it start, from what I understand, the Lakkos Project started off with you working on painting the houses and the municipal areas, the common areas of Lakkos, the district of Heraklion, and then it moved onto art and murals and some art into the area. How did you go about doing that? And did you invite artists in to do that?
Yes. Well, in the beginning, the project was very public, and the municipality were helping, and there was money coming in to make the projects. But after a year, I went broke. So then I got given this big 14-room house right in the center of Lakkos. It had been empty for 20 years. But I asked my family for a bit of money, and then I turned it into an artist residency. So artists from around the world come to stay, and they contribute to the cost of running the house and buying paint. And that's how the murals keep the residency alive.
So at the moment, the artists actually stay with you, Matthew, do they, in your house?
Yes.
And do they come from all over the world?
Yes, yeah. I get a few Brits each year.
Oh, there we go. And do many Greeks get involved? Do the locals get involved with the project?
It's difficult for the Greeks because, you know, there is a small charge to stay, and most Greeks don't have much money to, especially artists, don't have much money to do that. So I have hosted Greek artists for free before, or, you know, very minimal, 50 euros a month. So yeah, some Greeks get involved. Also, if I find somebody talented living locally, I'll ask them to come and contribute to the project without staying at the residency. It's a bit of a, it's not 50-50, it's maybe 1/3 Greek art.
And is there any rules or any boundaries on the murals or the art that they paint, or can they do anything they like?
They can do anything they like, nothing sexual. I often quite like art that's leaning towards political art, that communicates something. If it's just something that is pretty, then it's more decoration. And I don't think this is good street art. I think street art somehow needs to communicate some sort of message or speak of the times that we live in.
Fantastic. And just is there a way that anyone watching so that this live chat tonight could get involved with the project if they wanted to?
Well, I've stopped doing big community things because I just don't have the time anymore. But if people know artists that want to come and stay in the residency and get involved, maybe come and make a mural, make a sculpture. Also, musicians come. We can have concerts in the residency. So the residency is called the Lakkos Artists Residency. So if people want to look at that, that's a good way of getting involved with the project.
Fantastic. Jill, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Simon.
Thanks for joining us, Paul. So when people are looking for Lakkos, if they're in the centre of Heraklion and they want to come down and have a look at the murals, or they want to come down and check the area of Heraklion out, what's the best and easiest way for them to find Lakkos from the centre of town?
Well, normally everyone goes to the August 25th Street, the main tourist street. If you head straight up that away from the sea, it's pretty much a straight line to the cultural centre, the Politistico, and that's a huge building. It's just in front of that. There's also the Lakkos Cafeneon that is right in the centre of the area. It's not for everyone going to see Lakkos because it's a rundown area. People that are interested in street art love it. People that go for a more touristy scene, there's no clothing shops, there's no jewelry shops. It's a urban exploration for the more quirky people, I think. There's also the fantastic Taverna too, Vulva. So it's, you know, if you don't fall in love with the area, it's a great place to go and have some food and drinks.
Absolutely, and I visited the Taverna in the main square there, and that's a very atmospheric square there of an evening to sit in. There's some art on the walls and some nice tables outside. It's a really lovely square.
It is, and because it's off the tourist beaten track, you do get tourists in there, but it's not the bus loads. So you're mixing locals and visitors. It's a nice vibe.
Absolutely, and I don't know if I believe you're involved in there's some history on the wall there as well about the history of Lakkos. It's got a very colourful history, Lakkos.
Back between World War I and World War II, it was the area where the immigrants were living, and also the prostitution happened. And it was a big hashish smoking scene. It was the naughty part of town. So the good residents of the city wouldn't go there, but it became quite infamous for being the dodgy part. And they also developed a really interesting music scene there too. The Asia Minor refugees immigration swap. The Asia Minor music mixed with the local Rebetica created a particular sound, which unfortunately wasn't really recorded, but at the time it was quite notorious.
Yeah, fantastic. And like I say, it's very atmospheric to sit there and have a drink or a little bit of something to eat. So, and then obviously have a wander around the area and have a look at the murals as well. It's a little bit different. Sorry? It's something a little bit different for Heraklion. It's not something that you see anywhere else in the city.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's kind of like La Boca. Where's that? In South America. It's colourful.
Fantastic. And I believe you also have a house up in the village in somewhere in Crete as well, Matthew, is that right?
Yes, I've been looking for a village house for about 3 years now. And because of the Lakkos Project, I had a village contact me and say, we really like what you're doing in the city. Can you come and help us to get people to come to visit our village? And you know, I just looked at the Facebook page and visited the village, and I fell in love. The village is so special, the nature and the architecture, and it's in the mountains, so it's a bit cooler too. I don't love the heat, so right now I'm pretty good here, but everyone's sweltering in the city. So the village organised a house for me to stay in for free. I got a 7-year lease, and then a friend of mine and I bought another house up the street just recently. More like a pile of stones in a house.
How did the purchase process go for you, Matthew? Was it simple, or was it the usual Greek complicated situation?
It was mostly complicated because the house was built before 1960. It's about 150 years old. And the problem that we had was getting proof that the house was built before 1960. And you look at it, I think it started to fall down in 1960. So then anyway, it dragged and dragged, and then we found out there was a loophole in the law where you could buy something like 60%. You put 60% of the money down, and then the house becomes yours. And then later, when all the papers are finally finished, then you finish paying the money. If the owner decides to take back the house, they have to pay you twice the money that you've already paid. So it's quite a safe, good loophole. The bureaucracy here is pretty shocking. For newer places, I think it's easy, but for the older places, it's more complicated. Yeah. Especially in a village. But definitely worth it.
Absolutely. And the house you bought needed some work, or was it in a good condition?
No. Well, I got it for a very good price, which you wouldn't renovate a bathroom in London for the same price that the house we bought cost. And it comes with a garden right in the middle of the beautiful village. The village is called Anouasites, by the way. Definitely worthwhile visiting.
And are you doing some some work in the village now for the local municipality to try and help them to encourage people to visit?
So there's a cultural association in the village, which is a group of locals that get together every Monday and make plans for the village. I don't speak much Greek, so I don't go to many of these meetings, but they're really happy that I'm here. So we'll do murals in the village, and I'll do a similar thing to what we do in Lakkos. I have an artist residency in the village and an artist residency in the city.
Fantastic.
And it's the same cause, because the village is slowly dying. A lot of these old villages slowly die. Because the landscape is very fertile. The farming will always happen, but many of the old houses were abandoned. So the point is to try and get people to come and buy the old houses and renovate the old part of the village.
And where are the people going from the village when they're leaving?
Oh, to Heraklion, to the cities. The younger people, they don't necessarily want to be farmers, so they go and get jobs in the city. There's not the romance that you guys have, this escape to the country, and I completely understand it. But here, I think it was only recently that most people's families actually came from the villages to the city. So most young people, they don't want to live like their parents or their grandparents. So it's not fashionable to have a village life yet.
Yeah, and I guess those sort of things are cyclical, but it'll come back round again. But
yes.
And maybe the current situation might encourage people to live in villages a little bit more.
Absolutely, I've noticed many city people up here now in their village houses. I've gone crazy and planted a huge garden. I love the idea of being more self-sufficient. It's definitely a much healthier lifestyle right now.
Fantastic. So you've lived in Crete a while now, Matthew. Is there somewhere or something that you would say to people that are visiting the island they need to go and see? Is there something that's captured your heart, or is special somewhere? Is a place that's special in Crete for you?
It's really hard to say, because everywhere you go in Crete, there's something amazing. The archaeology is amazing. The mountains are amazing. The beaches are amazing. The villages are often beautiful. The Hania and Rithima and Heraklion, they're vibrant cities. I often say to people, just get a car and go anywhere, because you can't be disappointed. I have one of my favorite areas is the Amari Valley. I like the more off the tourist beaten track places. Also the south side of the island, that's not so much of a secret. The south side of the island, the beaches are fantastic, and you don't have the organized umbrellas. You don't even have a Heraklion or a Taverna. You just get the whole beach to yourself. So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, and I guess that's the great thing about Crete, is that it's got such a varied.
Yes.
There's something for everyone and to suit every taste, which makes it special.
Yeah.
Matthew, thanks ever so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us.
No problem.
We'll put some information up on the page after the chat this evening about the Lakkos Project. So if people want to have a look, or they want to get involved, if they're artists and they want to make contact and maybe come over and get involved, then we'll do that as well. I personally would absolutely encourage people visiting Heraklion to spend a little bit of time over in Lakkos. It is a unique place, undoubtedly, and the art and the atmosphere there is very traditional in comparison to some of the more sort of modernised areas of Heraklion. So it's more of a historical experience with that art sort of mixed in there. So we absolutely would recommend it. And congratulations to you for the project and for trying to breathe life into that part of Heraklion, because undoubtedly you've made a massive impact on improving that and breathing some life into that part of Heraklion again. So
thank you, Simon.
Yeah, my thanks to you for that as well, because I thoroughly enjoy spending time there now, and it's a really lovely part of the city to go and spend a bit of time. So thank you, Matthew. Thanks for your time. I appreciate everyone joining us. And that's it for us this evening. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Simon. Bye.